Spanking is a type of corporal punishment involving the act of striking the buttocks of another person to cause physical pain, generally with an open hand. More severe forms of spanking, such as switching, paddling, belting, caning, whipping, and birching, involve the use of an implement instead of a hand. Parents commonly spank children or adolescents in response to undesired behavior. Boys are more frequently spanked than girls, both at home and in school. Some countries have outlawed the spanking of children in every setting, including homes, schools, and penal institutions, but most allow it when done by a parent or guardian. Adults may spank other adults as well. Terminology. In North America, the word spanking has often been used as a synonym for an official paddling in school, and sometimes even as a euphemism for the formal corporal punishment of adults in an institution. In British English, most dictionaries define spanking as being given only with the open hand. In American English, dictionaries define spanking as being administered with either the open hand or an implement such as a paddle. Thus, the standard form of corporal punishment in U.S. schools is often referred to as a spanking, whereas its pre-1997 English equivalent would never have been so described. The word licks is also a common term in West Indian countries, especially Trinidad and Tobago. In the United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand, the word smacking is generally used in preference to spanking when describing striking with an open hand, rather than with an implement, whereas a spanking is invariably administered to the bottom. Smacking is less specific and may refer to slapping the child's hands, arms or legs as well as its bottom. In the home, spanking of children by the parents is a common form of corporal punishment used in families in the Western world. It is normally done with one or more slaps on the child's buttocks with a bare hand, although, not uncommonly, various objects are used to spank children. Historically, boys have been spanked more than girls. In the United States, the spanking of infants is common, with toddler-age children being spanked the most. The main reasons parents give for spanking children are to make children more compliant and to promote better behavior, especially to put a stop to children's aggressive behaviors. Research shows, however, that spanking, or indeed any form of corporal punishment, tends to have the opposite effect. Children who are physically punished more often tend to obey parents less with time, and to develop more aggressive behaviors, including toward other children. There are also a number of documented adverse physical, mental, and emotional effects of spanking and other forms of corporal punishment, including various physical injuries, increased anxiety, depression, and antisocial behavior. Although parents and other advocates of spanking often say that it is necessary to promote child discipline, studies have shown that parents tend to apply physical punishment inconsistently, spanking more often when angry or under stress. The use of corporal punishment by parents increases the likelihood that children will suffer physical abuse, and most documented cases of physical abuse in Canada and the United States begin as disciplinary spankings. In schools, corporal punishment, usually delivered with an implement rather than with the open hand, used to be a common form of school discipline in many countries, but it is now banned in most of the Western world. These bans have been controversial, and in many cultures opinion remains sharply divided as to the efficacy or suitability of spanking as a punishment for misbehavior by school students. Formal caning, notably for teenage boys, remains a common form of discipline in schools in several Asian and African countries, especially those with a British heritage. In these cultures it is referred to as caning, and not spanking. The Supreme Court of the United States in 1977 held that the paddling of school students was not per se unlawful. However, 31 states have now banned paddling in public schools. It is still common in some schools in the South. Adult spanking. Spanking of a wife by her husband as a punishment also does occur in some instances, often based on a literalist interpretation of the Bible. Men spanking the wives and girlfriends was often seen as an acceptable form of domestic violence in the early 20th century as a way to correct behavior, maintain male dominance, and enforce gender norms. It was a common trope in American movies. The legality of spanking of women in the United States varied by jurisdiction, largely dependent on individual judges. Ritual spanking traditions. There are some rituals or traditions which involve spanking. For example, on the first day of the lunar Chinese New Year holidays, a week-long spring festival, the most important festival for Chinese people all over the world. Thousands of Chinese visit the Taoist Donglunggong Temple in Tungkang to go through the century-old ritual to get rid of bad luck. Men by receiving spankings and women by being whipped, with the number of strokes to be administered by the temple staff being decided in either case by the god Wang Yin by burning incense and tossing 2 pieces of wood, after which all go home happily, believing the luck will improve. On Easter Monday, there is a Slavic tradition of hitting girls and young ladies with woven willow switches and dousing them with water. In Slovenia, there is a jocular tradition that anyone who succeeds in climbing to the top of Mount Triglav receives a spanking of birching. According to Ovid's Fasti, during the ancient Roman festival of the Lupercalia, naked men ran through the streets of the city, carrying straps with which they swatted the outstretched palms of the hands of women lining the racecourse who wished to become pregnant. In North America, there is a tradition of birthday spankings, where the birthday girl or boy receives the same number of hits as her or his age during the birthday party. Birthday spankings are administered over the clothes and usually by close friends or family members, and are generally playful swats not meant to cause real pain.